Ladies and gentlemen, the three gentlemen from Venezuela who were arrested from the JKIA International Airport are actually not the employees or clients of the IEBC. You see, after they had been arrested, Mr. Chebukati came with guns blazing, claiming that these people were actually sent from the company that was contracted to give Kenyans the election materials. The company is actually called the Smartmatic company. And Mr. Chebukati had actually said that these are employees of Smartmatic company that was sent to help in the election process. After they had been detained, they were actually helping the police with some information. The DCI, Mr. Kinoti, today came and explained that these guys were not even going. From the introduction letter, the invitation letter that they had, it was revealed that they were to meet a certain businessman by the name Abdullahi Abdi Mohammed. This saga is very confusing because why should Mr. Chebukati insist that these are his guests, that they were invited to help in the election process? And why should the government insist that these are not people who are coming to help in the process of election? There are several things that are disturbing because Mr. Kinoti actually revealed that these people traveled using expired passports. Among other things that were confiscated were some rolls of stickers that I think were to be placed in the ballot papers. And these rolls of stickers were to help in over 10,000 polling stations, which are spread across the country. And the counties that were affected are Nairobi, Kiambu, Meru, Machakos, Murang'a, Bomet, Tharaka Nithi, Nyandarua, Kericho. And when I looked at those areas, places like Murang'a, Bomet, Nyandarua, Kericho, you know, it raises eyebrows because I didn't see Kisumu, I didn't see Homa Bay, I did not see the strongholds of Raila Amolo Odinga. And the other thing that really is disturbing me is the fact that even after the DCI, Mr. Kinoti realized that these people were not actually coming to meet the IEBC. They were coming to meet Mr. Abdullahi. And they are suspected to be planning on some election fraud. There is no further evidence that they are going to be charged in a court of law. There is no any further evidence that Mr. Abdullahi, who was supposed to host the three Venezuelan gentlemen, there's no evidence that Mr. Abdullahi will be questioned or presented in a court of law, because election fraud is something that is against the Kenyan law. It is actually entrenched in the constitution and there are consequences. And so, ladies and gentlemen, who is fooling who in this game? Because I'm looking at a situation where the deep state wants to showcase or to convince us that Mr. Chebukati and the IEBC is working for Mr. William Ruto. If you ask me, I'm not going to buy this one. This narrative is something that I'm not going to buy. There is no way William Ruto can plot to rig elections in Kenya when the president is there with all the intelligence. Why hasn't Mr. Chebukati gone to court to compel the DCI to release his clients? Because if there is evidence, if Mr. Chebukati had evidence that these are his visitors, these are his guests from the Smartmatic company, then he should have gone to court. You see, when you have a problem with the part of the executive, part of the government, the only person that you can run to is the judiciary. You seek legal redress. Mr. Chebukati did not do this. Instead, he went ahead and started tweeting and explaining that these are his employees. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a feeling that Mr. Kinoti and Mr. Chebukati are actually working together. There is a conspiracy theory that no one is explaining to me. Do you think somebody can plan to rig elections when the government has all the intelligence, the police has the intelligence, the military has the intelligence, and someone comes along to plan to rig elections? I refuse to believe. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If there is any plan by William Ruto to rig these elections, then two things must be happening. Either the government is too smart, the government is smarter than William Ruto, because all these plans end up at the airport. If there is any plan by William Ruto to rig elections, then there must be a mall back at the Smartmatic International Company where all these things started, which looks like is the epicenter of rigging. It means that someone is there informing the government that someone has been sent. Please make sure that you intercept him at the airport. So if there is any plan by William Ruto, then it is not going to work. Because if all the plans cannot go past the airport, then it's not going to be fruitful. Number two, does it mean that the IEBC, which is the Independent Electoral Commission of Kenya, you see, the independence part of it is very, very crucial. That team is supposed to be autonomous. They need to have some autonomy where they are not being controlled by any other person. Then it means that if they're colluding to rig elections on behalf of someone, then they belong to jail. Do you think Mr. Chebukati and Marjan can manifest their willingness, their intention to rig an election on behalf of one of the competitors? I don't think this is something that can happen. Because if they do, I repeat, they belong to jail. My considered opinion is this: the government and the deep state is laying a trap for William Ruto. Because as the situation has been set, everyone now believes that William Ruto is in cahoot with the IEBC officials. At first, it started with the Azimio government accused Mr. Wetangula of having some connection with the Smartmatic company, where they wanted to influence and bring, I think, some election materials that they were going to pass through Uganda to bring into the country. And then here we see some people allegedly coming from Smartmatic company. And if you look at what is happening, the Ruto camp is really defending these three gentlemen. Mr. Abdul, they are called Mr. Jose Gustavo, Mr. Salvador, and the other one, Jose Gregory. These three men are being supported and defended by Mr. William Ruto. And this saga did not even start with Mr. Wetangula. At first, it was that Raila even wanted to boycott elections if the manual voting system was not put in place. And Mr. William Ruto and the team, came out guns blazing and saying that Mr. Raila had sensed defeat. If you look at the way these things are choreographed, ladies and gentlemen, I dare, and I dare you to convince me that there is anyone who can go against the deep state and plan to rig an election that the president has got interest, an election that Mr. Matiang'i, who is the Minister of Security in Interior Government, an election where Joe Musheru, who is the Cabinet Secretary for IT, And IT, this ministry is connected directly to elections, because they have to provide some path. There's some assistance that they have to give to the IEBC. An election that the IG, the Inspector General of the Police, Mutambai, has an interest, then you tell me that someone can come, a foreigner, into the country and connive with the IBC to rig these elections? It cannot happen. You know where Mr. Chiloba is working? The guy who took over when Musando died, you know where he's working today, because all those people who bungled the last general election are not yet done. They were placed strategically in offices which will aid in these elections. My point is this, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chebukati and the Inspector General, the IG, and Mr. Kinoti are all and the same thing. They are working together. They want Kenyans to believe that the Azimio government does not have faith in the IEBC. And they want us to believe that the Kenya Kwanza team has got a lot of faith in the IEBC, so that after the elections, Raila Amolo Odinga will be declared the winner. Take this to the bank. I know this might disappoint supporters of Mr. William Samoei Ruto, but you can take this to the bank. Mr. Raila Amolo Odinga of the Azimio party or Azimio coalition is going to be declared the winner after 9th August. And William Ruto has been, William Ruto has been trapped, because now he has convinced his supporters, he has convinced people like Mudavadi and Wetangula, all the principals, that they are working together with the IEBC. And so in the event that the IEBC announces and declares Raila Amolo Odinga as the winner, William Ruto will not have any moral authority to challenge these elections. Because from where we are, if you ask any supporter of the Kenya Kwanza, they know that they are being supported by Mr. Chebukati and Mr. Marjan and the IEBC. And I want to tell you this, Mr. Marjan, Mr. Chebukati, and all the commissioners know what is happening. This is a trap that has been set. Mr. Chebukati knows it. In fact, they want to play it even more vigorously and more intense as we approach the elections. I know you may think that I'm reading it very negative, because most people have said that, IEBC cannot be trusted. They are working for William Ruto. Ladies and gentlemen, the IEBC is not working for William Ruto. This IEBC is actually working together with the government. And they have choreographed everything in such a way that when you look at it, you may think that they're working for Kenya Kwanza. This is my take, and this is my personal opinion. I don't know what you think, but from where I sit, no one can dare rig. In fact, all over Africa, the body that manages elections can only rig an election in favor of the incumbent, the president, and if the president is outgoing, they can only rig in favor of the person who the president is supporting. And I will repeat this. It is my conviction that Mr. Chebukati, Mr. Kinoti, and all those people who are trying to know, you look like they are tweeting everywhere and they are releasing statements. Oh, there is no controversy. There is no any altercation. These people are reading from the same page. They want to make Kenyans believe that there are differences. And therefore, when William Ruto approaches these elections, he's very much confident that he's going to win it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. But I can assure you he's not going to win it. Tomorrow, something else will come. And you will realize that Mr. Chebukati is inclined towards supporting William Ruto in his statements, in some of his arguments. And you will see the government agencies coming in like they're in a controversy. There is nothing. These people actually have meetings at night, I dare say. These people know what they are doing. And if you think I'm lying, If you think I'm reading too much, ladies and gentlemen, let us wait and see. Because if these people were planning to rig elections and they are coming to see this businessman called Abdullahi Mohammed, then Mr. Abdullahi should be questioned. You see, the press statement that was released by Mr. Kinoti only mentioned that they were coming to meet this guy, Mr. Mohammed. But why are we not arresting Mr. Mohammed? Mr. Chebukati is not going to court to compel the DCI to release these guys. And if Mr. Chebukati is in cahoot with some people to rig an election, they should be taken to court. You know, all these things is drama. We don't see any further follow-ups, any legal follow-ups. No one is taking action against this one. They are mere talks and allegations and tweets. So, ladies and gentlemen, all this talk is meant to tell you that Mr. Chebukati, Mr. Kinoti, the police, the DCI, Mr. Marjan, the IEBC are all working together. Let no one fool you. That is my take. Have a great day.